Okay, I can hear you, correct? Can you say hi, Cass?
Can I say hi, Cass, or do I say hi, Jen? Hello,
You say
Jen.
hi, Jen. I just want to make sure I'm doing a mic check all of a sudden, and we're making sure. So we are good.
Hi.
I am. Hi, everybody. You guys. My name is Jen Cushman. You know that I'm here because you're on my Soulstar Magic page. We are doing a quick live stream with the absolutely phenomenal artist Cass Holmes. I was introduced to Cass through a very dear friend of mine, Lori Scott, who absolutely adores her, has taken so many classes from her, and said, "You have got to meet this woman." So, Cass, I'm just going to give a quick little wrap up, but you
Yeah.
were in the UK, correct? So
I am in
you're
the UK, the Southeast.
yeah, and you have written how many books now? You have been an author of how many books?
I've authored 5 books and I'm now authoring my sixth.
That is amazing. Absolutely incredible. And you have been doing art professionally, exhibitions, galleries, shows for how many years now?
Probably since I graduated, in fact, before I graduated, so close to 40 years.
Oh my goodness, absolutely incredible. So you have spent your life as a professional working, teaching artist. This has been your life, correct?
Yeah, art's been my life since perhaps I was a child, playing around in the garden and building constructions as I wanted to. So yeah,
Oh,
it's been my
oh,
life.
that's wonderful. So, everybody, I want to introduce Cass to you. I just want to talk a little bit about it because Cass is one of my guest artists that is coming up in the south of France this coming summer. And we are booking the retreat right now, and seats are filling fast. It's a very small, intimate retreat with a maximum of 9 students, and it is filling up right now. It is next summer that we're going to be doing it, and her retreat is June 7th to 14th, right? In at La Cascade in the south of France. And I am so incredibly honored and excited that Cass has agreed to come along and be part of Soul Stirring Retreats. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But what I really want to do is I want to get to know this amazing artist better. And I want you guys to get to know this amazing artist better. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a Q&A format, Cass, and I'm just going to ask you some questions. Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine. Let's see where it leads us.
I love it. Let's just play and have a little bit of fun because art
Yeah,
is play, right? For sure. So,
yeah.
okay. So I know from your work that you really do a lot of, you do paper, mixed media, you do stitching, you do drawing, you do a lot of layers, correct? So when you're doing that, you are really combining papers and fabrics and a lot of things together. Is that correct of
Yeah,
how your materials?
I call it painting with cloth. So I don't
Okay.
recognize the boundaries that exist between fine art and textiles, drawing media and dyes. I kind of just muddle it around in the middle a little bit, and I encourage people to explore their own story or narratives within that process. So La Cascade would be a wonderful inspirational place to draw from, if you like, to get some experience balanced with what your interests may be.
Exactly. How did you start doing that? Like when I know you said you've been an artist for 40 years, your whole life, but what was really the inspiration or the starting point of you just taking all these materials and just having at it, like wildly going for it?
Well, I graduated with an honours degree at University of Creative Arts in the Southeast. And I can pinpoint it to my very first project because up till that moment, I'd studied in painting and it's fine art painting. We had a project where I had a canvas in front of me and we needed to reuse these old canvases. And there was a painting on it and I was just gaining experience. So I tried to paint over it and put my own stamp on it. Whatever was underneath kept coming through. And in sheer frustration, I tore the canvas up and then I had to bring it back together. And this kind of investigative way of working, not just dealing with the surface, but what the substrate is and what we could do with it,
Mhm.
became the starting point. And the logical thing for me was to stitch it together. And I'm not a stitcher. I just thought, well, I'll get a needle, I'll just draw it together. And that's perhaps that changing point where I started to muddy those waters a little bit between the two disciplines of what might be textiles, what might be fine art. And I've kind of explored that journey ever since.
Mm-hmm. How did that go over in the teaching, the school? Like, what did your tutors think of it at that time?
I think it was a surprise.
Uh-huh.
Because I went on to study paper making, and I received a Churchill Foundation Fellowship, Winston
Okay.
Churchill, and a Japan
Yeah.
Foundation Fellowship to study in Japan. And I studied paper making, paper arts. And again, that idea that paper and textiles are interrelated disciplines was
Mm-hmm.
developed even further in my ways and approaches to working, and it's kind of remained a core to my practice throughout my life. That and the combination of that idea of using what's there, whether it's found materials, and the I'm informed by what I see in the everyday. So a part of what we will be doing together is to find out what you are interested in and how you can work with the materials you gather as part of that process of learning and discovering. So it ties in with you, you know, that inside part of what makes you exciting as a creative person is, you know, I like that challenge that I'm not always certain where the thing is going to go, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
discovering it as part of that journey. If I lose that excitement, as well as that ability to be a bit playful with the materials and to step back, then I'm not creating.
Mm. And how do you do that with your students? So, how do you help your students not know where they're going from point A to point B? Because, a lot of times as a creative, we love to explore and we love to see what happens. And you also have to let go of control a little bit, right? We have to be willing to just be in the experimental moment of that. And that can be difficult sometimes.
I kind of have three different ways of looking at it. One is, I think I use the word we need to step into uncertainty, because art and creative process doesn't come out of certainty. If you've already plotted that end road and you know what you want to make, then it can stop you exploring new ways of working or meaning for you. So that's one aspect of it. I think the other side of it is it's a partnership, and it's an exchange. I learn as much from watching how the students develop and are then able to support them on an individual basis. So unless I can benefit, if you like, from that exchange and really take on board what the participant is beginning to express within their work, listening to them, if you like, just having that quiet time and listening. And I suppose one of the words that I've often used is that the great successes have often born out of what we might perceive as failures, that you need to be a risk taker. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
need to find a way of stepping outside the things you may usually do and engaging with the process. And I can't tell you how each workshop I will do will be run, because that is dependent on the participants and what happens at that time. So it's having faith in the process. And also, I think the benefit of being together for a longer period of time, you build trust with each other, you build knowledge of each other, and being looked after, having nice food and provided, places that you can take a break at your pace. That's so important to part of that experience of developing what you want to do as a creative person.
Mm-hmm. So when I approached you asking if you'd be willing to be a guest artist and come to the south of France, and just we started talking about it, I know I saw you immediately started dreaming. You started designing what this workshop, what you wanted to teach and share, because it's been a while, right?
Yes.
You haven't been at a live workshop, obviously, because COVID and then other circumstances. So my question for you is, when I brought that up to you and I saw your brain just instantly go into that beautiful artist creative mode that I know so well for my own self, what was it that made you do that? What made you go into that state of instant dreaming, instant creativity, instant creating what you wanted to teach?
I think all artists create from hope and
Mm,
anticipation, exploration. And And also, truth to be told, is I really love the diversity that being in a different place can give to my work. What I can learn from that space is important. And I've been I mean, even within the last 4 years, I talk about having mini adventures, re-looking at the space I'm familiar with, but with different approaches. So it's about using art as a creative tool for discovery, and how looking and observing and experimenting with the materials and what we see and what we're willing to share. I mean, I'm under no illusion that people will be coming with their own skills, their own experiences. And I think that's magical when you are actually in a workshop for a period of days, and that you can bring that to the table so that there's a lively interchange between people. And it's my job to help set that up, and enable that to happen. And actually, I'm just dying to be away from home for a period of time. I really, you know, as much as I love my place,
Right.
there you just need sometimes to step outside of the familiar in order to engage with something new, to discover yourself a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, I love, so Du Fort, where we're going to where we're going to be staying in La Cascade, is a very small medieval village. It's got 3 streets only, and it's got these beautiful old French homes that were built 400, 500 years ago. And then the thing that's really amazing is they have brought in a couple of young artists to paint all of the walls around
Wow.
it. So you walk out, so you're in the middle of this French film that's been around forever, which, you know, you live in Europe, so there's a lot of history, right? But for us Americans, you don't walk out and have quite as much history. But there's all this history. And then there's this contemporary art that is on these old 400-year-old buildings. And so I guess the reason why I'm telling you that, and the people that are here, is I cannot wait to see what you do with this juxtaposition of the old and the contemporary, the vintage that we're going to find at the flea markets, the new that you're going to be
Mm.
able to bring in. Like, I know that you don't even know where it's going to go yet. I don't know where it's going to go yet. And I am so excited to see where you take this work and how you work all that.
Yeah, and I think from the structure we've built together, and understanding the importance of creating an experience that has meaning for the people who come to La Cascade and the courses with you, is that it's a recognition that you often need to take time to breathe as much as it is to create. You know, and that might be that flexibility that you'll build into the program that enables people to step away if you need to. It's that recognition as an artist that it's not always good to work full pelt, if 12 hours a day, because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't build in that calm time, reflective time, or experience the place you're in, then you have nothing to feed your creative development. And that for me is an essential part of my practice. People might see the resulting work in my exhibitions or in my demonstrations, but what they often don't see is all of what I call the unseen, the unspoken, the things that go behind that in order to allow that to evolve. And I think you can only create something if you experience something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know in my own work, and then all the other times that I've been at La Cascade, because I started going there in 2012, teaching my own workshops, hosting them, doing all of that and getting them together, and just being there. And then in my own work, I really looked at the retreat as breathing, like deep breathing, right? There's an in breath, and then there's an out breath, and then there's an in breath and an out breath. So when you're there, you need to take time to breathe, and you need to make sure that, I mean, inspiration means to be inspired, right? That's what the
To
Latin
breathe
roots of
in.
it mean. Inspire, right? So that inspiration. So when you come, they're going to be with you, and then there's going to be time to breathe. There's going to be time to create. There's going to be time to step away. There's going to be time to go on the excursions and, go to
Mm.
Albi and the Toulouse-Lautrec Museum and be inspired by the looseness of his line. And so I love that. There's going to be a beautiful mix of breath. We're going to be breathing, we're going
Absolutely.
to be inspired. Yeah. And I love that. And I can't wait, because you and I are going to be, we're tag teaming, right? So it's like I'm going to be giving you all of the instruction and you're going to be nurturing all of them, and then it'll be a time where I get to nurture you and I get to nurture everybody else, and we get to go experience, and then we come back and then we make. So that's the plan. It really is.
And I
Mhm.
like the fact you use the word inspire. And I often, because drawing is the foundation of everything that I do. And it's part of what I'd like to do on the course is to dissemble what we might think drawing might be, because that's sometimes the thing that people get hung up about. We do here. And if you think about the verb, it's to draw from,
Mhm.
and it's also to observe. And it doesn't matter how you make a drawing or how you put things together. I mean, keeping that record, that tangible record, whether you're sticking things in your sketchbook or your journal or however you want to keep it, making a mark. I find that, I'm you can't see, but above me, I've got hundreds of sketchbooks on the shelf, and I can then, that become like my museum of the mind, that I can pull one out. And sometimes I'll find something I looked at many years ago, because I realize I'm following a train of thought, but I'm in a different place now. I've moved on, but there are still things that are relevant from then. And what will I do with that information? And I think
Mhm.
that's what it does for me. It gives me a physical record of what's going on in my mind. I wouldn't say the word mind mapping. I actually say it's like putting my mind on the page. And that's what I
Yes.
hope to do in the workshop, is to be open enough to share what it is for me to be an artist in a place, and try to uncover what you can discover about yourself and your own creativity, and from each other, because that's really important. It's creating that space where people feel confident enough to share, confident enough, I'm going to use a word now, to sometimes struggle, because that's absolutely normal. We
It
struggle
is.
because it matters to us, but to
Exactly.
also know that, to let go of that idea of perfection, because that only by letting go of that certainty, that perfection, will real creativity come through. That idea you've
Mhm.
got to have something finished, that doesn't enter the agenda for me. If you get
Yes.
some, I'd like you to go away feeling you're stoked up and ready to develop your work processes, because
Yeah.
it's going to pass so quickly, but yet at the same time, I know from doing an in-depth workshop for a number of days, it has this strange balance. I don't know if you feel that, Jen, that it's
Absolutely.
you get to the end of it and you think, God, that passed quickly, but you feel like you've covered things that you
Everything.
cover in months, but it feels like
Mhm.
we've been here a long time, because you begin to develop a relationship with what you're doing, with each other, and with that place.
It is. Yeah, that's one of the things I love. Why I'm doing this at La Cascade and why I'm doing it in the south of France is because it is intimate. And for me, depth, I don't like surface conversations. I love depth, there's a depth to it. There's a safety net, right? So I love to create a safe container for people to explore and experiment, find their edges, and then when you go past your edges a little bit, like I have tears in my classes, I'm sure you do too.
I've
And
had, yes.
right. And I get excited when people, like, when the tears fall or the frustration, I get excited because it's just like, yay, that means you're growing, right? It's like you're growing, you're experimenting, you're changing, you're
And
you're you're moving your boundaries a little bit,
yeah,
right?
and you're accessing something in here. I've
Mhm.
often said to my students, when I'm working on courses, I teach a drawing and painting class here in Maidstone, where I live, and they love the fact that I constantly challenge. But I also do it on the basis that what I do is accessible, but I never use the words or the terms easy to describe anything that I do in a workshop, because
Yeah.
I'm going to, maybe a little swear word here, I work damn hard to do what I do. And I think it's also to create that kind of, that framework within which you'll be maybe driven to work in the way you want to work, but also there will be at points at which you step back. There might be periods of time where you're just in the zone and it's in full flow. But it's on reflection. I think what you're gifting people is the experience as when they're with you. That's something to draw upon in the months to come. That's the most important part, that it becomes a creative stopping point, breath, and then a starting point to move on. And often it beyond reflection, they'll discover what they really have found from being in La Cascade and with the course.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited about that. And again, with only 9 people, they're going to get an incredible amount of instruction from you. I mean, we figured it out. It's 25. I mean, it's quite a bit, 25 hours, 28. I mean, around there, depending on it, you know, the instruction with you really depends on how much breath people want to take, right? Whether they want to, you know, they want more, they want to step out, how they want to do it. Like, you are there, and you are really there to be their guide, their cheerleader. They're also there, like, you know, a little bit of the general, maybe, you know what I mean? A little bit of the things, like you said, to maybe not that the word, but to challenge them, right? To say, I love this. You did this stitch. You did this. What about extending this line? What about adding, you know, and doing this color? So guiding them, right?
Yes, guiding them and maybe find out what motivates them to want to create. So part of the process will also be how we start to gather information from locality, which can be with I'd like people to have a sketchbook with them in which they can make their notes, record what they're doing, so it becomes a resource for them. And I sometimes, on the turn of a button, I'm using very English phrases, and I know they don't often mean anything, but it means to suddenly have some inspiration. Yeah, turn of a button, you come in and you think, now I've seen that, and I've seen how this person's developing. Let's bring everyone together. Let's see what we can do with this. And that could be in the middle of a coffee, in the middle of a square, you know.
Yeah.
And I just see the colours and think, actually, there's a good teaching and learning point here. Or it might come from something a student says, because what you give to the workshop is as valuable as what I give.
Exactly. It's going to be so experiential and so beautiful and so intimate, because with just the small amount. The last thing I do want to say, Cass, and then we'll kind of get moving on soon, but what I did, because I promised, I know you got to get back to work and I don't want to take too much of your time, but one thing I really want to just say is that you really aren't planning for next year to really be teaching any other international retreats. Like, it's a possibility, but at this point, this is your first time out in a while, correct? This is a rare opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. What many people may not know is that I'm also a carer now, as well as an artist. So my partner's brother's coming over to enable this to happen. And I felt that if I was going to do a retreat, we've been discussing this for a number of years. So, you know, I have to do them in sequential order. But it needed to be something that I could also feel I was in safe hands. And I've always felt that with it, whatever partnerships I've been within, but I'm having to make difficult decisions about how much I can do and how I can do it. So this is the only retreat away that I've done in 5 years. By the time we get to 2024, that will be 5 years. So, and I've only done 2 courses away in the last 2 years in the UK. So that's, you know, I haven't gone overseas. I've actually managed to do 2 short weekends in the UK in 2 years. So
yeah. And I think it's important. I really wanted to bring that out and bring that as importance, because, you know, I know as people are getting back and doing the international travel and we're doing these things, this is not just marketing, right? This is truth. This is a rare opportunity, you guys, to experience Cass, her work, her instruction in a very intimate, small setting. And I am committed. I've been there. I know what it takes to put on a retreat, and I am committed to making sure that, as you know, it's all inclusive. Once you get there, you land in Toulouse Airport. We take care of you. We take care of everything for you. There's one lunch out in Albi you have to pay for, but that's it. And everything is really managed for it to be a full retreat experience and an amazing art instruction experience with a phenomenal artist and teacher who I admire greatly. So I just want everyone to know what that means and how truly special this is going to be.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it. I'm looking for that energy you get from being in a classroom with other students and from being in a place which doesn't have your usual. You provide that comfort and security and the food, but it's not the familiarity that you can have by being in your own space. And sometimes you just need to have that place away from home, that home away from home, which offers your eyes, your senses, your touch, your smell, what you discuss at a different level and away from everything else that might be in the background, a chance to just step out from what might be on your mind for 7 days and just be the creative soul you want to be.
Absolutely. Creative, insightful, experiential. Like there's a lot of words that we're really talking about here. And more than anything, I just really, I'm so grateful that we took this time together. You got a chance. I'd love to, I know you are so well known in the UK and you're also well known in the textile community. And just to get a chance to introduce you to my people and for them to follow your work. And it's truly an honor and a blessing. And I just wanted to go public and tell everybody what we're doing and explain to them why this is different. We've really created something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go ahead.
So, I'm really looking forward to joining you. As you said, I have things I'm planning at the moment, and I'm going to be exhibiting at a major gallery in Kent. It's Canterbury Museum, otherwise known affectionately as the Beanie, and it's called Storytellers, which is coming up. And it's a piece called Absence, and it's about my partner. And other artists from all different disciplines, photography, painting. I think I'm the only textile artist included in the exhibition. I'd like to say mixed media artist because, if you come to the course and you want to work with paper, that's fine as well. We can be flexible. But yes, I'm kind of excited that partners like yourself have been accommodating enough to allow me to continue developing my practice, that care, create, equation is constantly flowing, and it's allowed me to cultivate myself.
Well, thank you. I did mean to ask you because I know your exhibit that's coming up. So it's called Story. What is it again? Please repeat that. Storytellers.
Yeah.
And it's going to be where?
It's going to be at the Canterbury Museum and Art Gallery, otherwise known as the Beanie, which is in Kent. So it's there to visit from now till February. I have other exhibitions coming up, which are all on my website, but that will give you a good idea of how I work and what I do. But I mentioned storytellers because essentially my work is about telling your own story through mixed media stitch or drawing. Your narratives, how you relate to the world comes into the work.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you're telling a very personal narrative of your own, right? In this piece that you have coming up. So I know just a little bit about it, but in your visual art, you were really explaining all of the things that you've gone through, and you're really putting it out there in your artistic vision and vulnerable, correct?
Yes, and our amazing brain. I'll leave you with this one thought that I discovered by working with the neuro people here, that we all have nanogold in our bodies. And that's what enables us to connect through our nervous system or our intellectual thoughts, all of those things about how one nerve connects to another. That's essentially what I think is the magic of gold in our brain that enables me to speak with you now and make those connections firing off all the time. And it's because we're made of stardust. We've all got everything that comes from, you know, the universe is actually composed. We've got elements of what made the universe originally in our bodies. And the fact that they prove that nanogold or gold in our bodies is essential for human communication between the nerve cells is absolutely amazing. I just love that idea. We all have that tiny little glimmer of gold inside us.
Oh, girl, you are speaking my language. I cannot wait. I've been studying neuroplasticity, neuroscience. I've been studying all of that for been diving deep for 18 months. So I'm gonna get a chance to geek out on quantum mechanics with you for a little bit, I think, and some of this.
I don't go that far. I think mine's all instinctive and observational, but you know, I find out what I need to find out just to make things work for me.
I love it. Well, we will definitely explore further our neuro gold and also what's in our heart and how we connect our heads with our hearts
and our hands.
And our hands, right? Jazz hands. It's going to be amazing. So, Cass, thank you so much for this time. I got goosebumps, angel bumps all over my body. I am thrilled about what we're doing together. And I invite anybody who resonates, if this resonates with you, please go to soulstirringretreats.com and look at all the information. Make sure you go to Cass's website. Is it cassholmes.com or is there a different?
It's cassholmes.co.uk.
Okay, we will put that on the replay here. I'll have Greg, my husband, who's helping me. We will make sure we put all of the social media and all of the things to follow us. Please know that spaces, because it is such a small, intimate retreat, and it is such a rare experience to get to be with this amazing, phenomenal artist, hands-on, to learn from her. Spots are filling pretty quickly. So, you know, please check it out. And I'm here for any questions and anything that you need. Okay. And you have a great evening, and I'm going to finish my day because we are on the opposite. So you're winding down and I'm winding up. So we will get to it. So go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to sunny France.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool here at the moment.
Exactly. Okay. You take care, my friend, and I will talk to you very soon. Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.